So how's your day going?
It's going okay. Better.
You stubbed your toe, burnt your hand. What else happened?
Dropped all kinds of stuff in the garden this morning.
Was it the world trying to get you down?
Yeah.
Is it gonna win?
No.
Is it gonna win?
Never.
How do you want the world to remember you when you're gone? Not that it should matter how anybody feels about you, because what really matters is how you feel about yourself. Wouldn't it feel good to know that you're leaving behind a little bit of joy and happiness for those to discover for when you're gone? So far in this series, we've talked about what happiness means to me and what happiness means to others, and how happiness isn't something that's always easy to achieve. But in this next episode, I wanted to talk about actually experiencing happiness, actually going out and getting some for yourself. Over the last few years, I found myself walking in the woods, as I'd call it. I would go out with my dog and some music, and I would walk for hours, and with no real direction, I would end up finding my way. Sometimes it would be physically, sometimes it would be emotionally, but most of the time it was finding myself mentally. I know that at the end of the year, it can become very stressful being around your family, buying gifts for those that you love, and just putting yourself into a situation where you're not always in your normal comfort zone. So I decided with a coworker to organize a hike on December 1st. We ended up getting a couple of people to come with us. I'm really excited because I normally don't organize hiking trips with other people. I normally spend that time reflecting on my own self. So to have the idea of sharing a hiking experience with other people actually sounds really exciting, because I do find myself being actually happy when I'm out in the woods or out experiencing the world, not the world that society has created or the world that man has created, but the world that's been there for millions of years, just waiting for us to actually be quiet, take a moment, and experience it for what it actually is. So I had invited as many people as I thought would be interested to come along on the hike, and many people were interested in wanting to come. The week of the hike, the weather was forecasted to be rainy and pretty cold, so many people were unable to make the hike. However, two of my fellow crow workers, Paul and Ben, were able to commit to the hike, and I'm sure glad that they did. It was really interesting because the trail started right by the old mill, and you had to go across a very old covered bridge. So our trail started off really awesome. We had committed to a 14+ mile day of hiking, which I had never done that many miles before. We spent most of our morning talking about things that I never expected we would talk about. We talked about things from family, to goals, to love lives, and everything in between. It was really humbling because I don't think that I would have been able to get to know them in any other way had we not all committed to going on this hike together. The hike itself was absolutely beautiful. We hiked 7.2 miles into Hell's Hollow Canyon, where a gorgeous waterfall awaited us.
That's not a lot.
Nice.
I wanted to sit down.
Of course you did.
There's like a leaf in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that's good, right? Here we go.
Here we go, she says.
I'm scared.
You gotta squeeze it a little bit, hey?
Pretty good.
Sweet. Yeah?
Not bad. You want to try it, Ben?
You wanna just, yeah.
Here, wait.
That's cool.
Went down my epiglottis incorrectly.
Woohoo! We made it to Hell's Hollow! We decided to eat lunch alongside the waterfall under a cave because it had started raining and it seemed like the driest place to have our lunch. We ate homemade soup, talked about life, and decided that it was time to hike the 7+ miles back. I can say that standing at the base of that waterfall, I was genuinely happy and I could feel the world just making sense. With a belly full of soup and a pretty badass view for lunch, we're headed back 7 miles. At around mile 12, my legs really started giving me a run for my money. My knees were aching and my thighs were burning. But being with those other two guys that I was hiking with, it really kept me motivated. It made me realize that sometimes hiking with other people can be really cool. The moral of this episode is that Sometimes you have to go out and do things, even if no one else wants to do them with you, or the forecast isn't really looking good for the activity you want. Sometimes you just have to buck up, put on your big kid pants, and go. And I hope to have many more hiking experiences with Ben and Paul and get to know them even better. I'm glad to say I left the trail that day with 2 new friends, and I know that anytime I see them at work, we'll be able to nod in each other's direction and know that we have this unspoken bond now. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Finding Happiness, and I hope we get to find some more.